Hi,
Hey
welcome
guys.
back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk at long last, about episode 46, the
Yes.
Storm of Memories.
Yes.
Storm of Memories, not the.
And we got what we were finally asking for.
Yeah,
Some Yasha backstory when Ashley was there.
yeah. Yasha heavy, yeah.
Unfortunately, now she's leaving again, or has left by this time.
Yeah, and like one of the things that I was thinking about is we lamented, or we were wondering if it was Ashley asking Matt not to put her in the spotlight, or if Matt felt he didn't want to do that to her while she was there.
Yeah.
And I think we got a somewhat of a definitive answer this episode, where neither one of those things happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's been watching clips of Travis playing Yasha. And when we get to that segment, I have some things I want to ask you about. But
okay.
Off the top, Sam's like, "What did you get?" Like, or he's like, "Are you gonna stay behind? Are you gonna look before we leave?" And Caleb's like, I'm just gonna stay.
Yeah.
You guys.
Caleb stays behind.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was Sam wanting to know what they got, or if it was not wanting to know.
I think it was both. I think it was not wanting to know what they got, and I think it was Sam voicing everybody wanting to know what they got.
Fair enough.
Because they even made the mention. Tal made the mention. That seems to be his favorite thing: reading what everything does and not telling anybody.
Yes. Which actually, so over the Christmas, New Year's break that we've had, this long break,
Okay.
I started rewatching season 1.
Okay.
And Tibbs did something similar. Matt was much more free about giving those cards out.
Yeah.
He would just let him make an Arcana check, or even just assume with your, he would just hand them out. And Orion would usually read it right away.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then he'd read it, and people would be like. Also, they are much better at D&D now.
Yes.
But
so real quick, one thing I want to mention with the whole Caleb staying behind bit is, I mean, I know he did it to spend time identifying all this stuff, but something that struck me, and this may be from like just a personal perspective, but Caleb also made the comment, "All right, you piece of shit," and when a group is going out for something, and then the one person who is like Caleb is, he's dealing with mental issues, is like, "No, I'm gonna stay behind. I'm gonna do certain things." They may do those certain things, but that's not always what it's about. And I'm wondering if we're seeing some of Caleb's mental issues with all the stuff that's happened recently in the packs, and I wonder if he's starting to and he's mentioned that he's like ready to get off the ocean. I wonder if everything's kind of taking a tide on him mentally, and he just needs that.
I think that scene was a return to the paranoid Caleb and also the focused wizard Caleb that we've sort of lost a little bit in the action-packed run piracy thing. Because he set alarm first in the hallway in front of the door.
Mm-hmm.
He cast Leomid's tiny hut
up to the door so they couldn't open the door.
Yeah. And then he lays everything out.
Yes, and I agree with you on that. However, I will caveat it with, I think part of that paranoid focused wizard was because of the self-loathing and the issues, mental issues.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Liam said multiple times, that Caleb believes that he deserves every negative comment made about him.
Well, yes. That's how we know that he's someone with mental, health issues.
Yeah. But this, I think, might be the first time we've ever seen that from him to himself.
No, there's been other times when he was alone with the skull. He said something about himself being a piece of shit, or
no, he was questioning his sanity in that scene, I think, more than anything.
Okay.
That wasn't, you're a piece of shit. It was, what are we gonna do? We like these people, we don't like these people. That was, in that scene, he's grappling with staying with them,
right,
and what it means to use them, and the dangers of becoming friendly with them.
Right.
Where this is the first scene, I think, that we've seen him do that.
I can see that. I don't know if I agree with it, and maybe we're looking at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
I've seen things that to me have been like, okay, he's being, down on himself. He's portraying this, issue he has.
Oh, I'm not saying he's never portrayed it.
Right, no.
This is just the first time he has openly, black and white, stated.
And see, I took other things in black and white as he's stating that, just because of, my personal perspective and history and stuff. So,
but yeah, they have a discussion about the ball.
Yes.
And Jester says to Ford, you disappeared, Ford. And he thought she was talking about the fight when he cast Blink, because they gave him shit a couple times about that.
Yeah.
Especially when Molly almost died because of it. Because the target that they might have gone for wasn't there, so they went after Molly.
Yeah.
And he, well, yeah, but you did it too. She's like, no, in the library.
Yeah.
Which started off a whole spider web of, I wasn't abandoning you, I did it, and the whole discussion. And
yeah, that was a let's pat each other on the back and make sure we're all still friends moment. That was a
yes. But it was also because I think we got an interesting look into Jester in that scene, because she also, I was invisible. I wasn't there. Really?
Yeah. Almost like she was more saying that, not that it was okay, but she's used to being left alone and she'd rather make them feel okay about it.
Or is that maybe a sign that that they were kind of joking about early in the campaign when she was making up the flying rainbow unicorns and the pocket unicorns, and we were like, is she a little not all there?
Yeah.
Is that maybe a sign that she might play more into that?
Maybe. I mean, I took it as she's the type that she's gonna let them feel okay even though she was hurt, and tell them it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Well,
especially that's probably how she talked to her mom for so long.
Yeah. And that's what I took it as.
Yeah. And I love Knott's like, I did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Insight. Yep, I believe I did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Now, Matt didn't challenge Marisha of whether or not she subtracted the gold for the bottle of mead she bought for the crew? Or do you think the bottle that she was going to buy for herself, she decided later to make that a gift to the crew? Which way do you think that?
I think she decided to make it a gift for the crew.
Okay.
And yeah, I really like that. Hey, Clay, what do you think about this? And, just kind of, hey, fuckers, don't stab me.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I've noticed in that scene, and that Taliesin has been doing more of, is trying to do his best to portray that, what is it, 6 intelligence? 6 or
9.
9. Okay, yeah, so not quite as dumb as Grog.
Yeah.
But he's below average intelligence.
Yeah.
Where when Caduceus first came on, that wasn't there. And I think Taliesin has been trying to... I think he's trying to keep himself in that gear more.
Yeah.
Which is why when he said, it's very astute of you. And then he sort of have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I don't know what astute means.
I just heard someone use it.
So yeah, I've been noticing him doing more and more of that. And we'll see if he continues.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have to keep catching himself.
Yeah.
To reverse it. And it seemed like after they had that let's talk and let's make sure we're all still friends discussion,
well,
they got down to, what do we want?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're going to get some nitty gritty, what do we want out of life kind of discussion. And now let's get breakfast.
Yeah. Hey man, breakfast can be a serious want.
Yes.
Especially when you spend 6 days without eating.
Well, I mean, to them it was only, 20 minutes. But yeah. But we were right in that stop off was going to be the opportunity for Matt to give them news about what's happening in the Empire. And we hear that Felderwin has been attacked.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that rumor is a representation of the speed that news travels. Because we're in midwinter. I mean, Felderwin is up there, up in the Empire, and it's winter up there. It was snowing and stuff, and yet fields were set ablaze. So, I mean, it could be magically, but that wouldn't be the time when farmers would have fields out there.
Your winter wheat.
Oh, I guess. I was wondering if maybe it was like news having traveled slow, or maybe he meant granaries.
Yeah. Well, even fields lying fallow, you can burn those and ruin those too.
Well, it just to me it sounded like crops, and I was like, wait, isn't it winter?
Yeah. Well, that could also be Matt making a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, because they left before winter.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been before that. Otherwise, they would have traveled through it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just Matt probably misspoke, but the thing is they attacked the food production part of the Empire.
Right. Well, I mean, druids exist, so it very well could be
That's
an
true
area
too.
for year-round crop growing.
That's true. Yeah. We find out that we finally get a place name to where Nott's from.
Yes.
Previously this week hadn't had that.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that she was around where they started, but a distance away.
Yes.
And Bo was also near where they started.
Yeah.
So But
And
yeah.
so we knew they were both like in Southern Empire area, but this episode we found out that relatively close,
Yeah.
you know, as far as encampments go.
Yeah.
And that led me to wonder, they both speak Halfling. We know this. We've known this from the beginning.
Yeah.
Does Bo know the Halfling not knows, or maybe at least the family?
Possibly. I mean,
not
knowing
never
this,
shared the name, but
no.
if she shares the name, would Bo recognize it?
Possibly, which may also be why Not has never said it.
Right.
Ford had a little bit of a, moment of pause, and maybe even some guilt over monopolizing the group's time on his thing. But interestingly, in that conversation,
I don't think he felt any guilt.
I think he did. But we also have Jester, for the first time, challenge Ford on what he is doing.
Yeah.
Because she says, we can still look for Vandrin before we leave. And for the first time, we see Ford go, it's not going to happen. We're not going to find him.
Yeah.
Which, to me, means pursuit of this orb now and putting it in the shrine and getting the power is what he cares about now. He doesn't care about Vandrin. He doesn't care.
Yeah. He's even beginning to care less about the Mighty Nine. He's become dismissive. They're pawns. They're not as important as him in his quest for power. He consistently, every time they bring up a challenge, a possibility, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. When they're talking in the beginning, Sam's laughing, and he's, what are you laughing at, Goblin?
Yeah.
Knowing, now, the reason that's dismissive, and so a lot of people online are like, oh, he's racist, this proves he's evil. No. Watch our other videos. I give out plenty of reasons why Ford is evil. Yeah. This is not that. This is just him being dismissive. But it's him being dismissive in a mean way. Because he knows that Not hates the fact that she's a goblin.
Yeah.
And he's never called her that before.
Yes.
Not directly like that. He said, we have a goblin with us, or something to that effect. But he's never, like me calling you human. Mm-hmm. He's never done that.
Yeah.
Later on in the episode, when he's, I think he's talking with Bo or Jester, and he says, yeah, that cat, he's a smart cow.
Bo.
Because of the features.
And they looked at Taliesin, and they were like, I'm wondering what's your reaction. And he's like, no, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, they've mentioned the facial feature, but he just, that almost reminded me of the old Dragonlance taunt against Minotaurs. Your mother was a cow, and just like,
Yeah.
After the fight with Yasha, yes, Jester said Yasha's okay. The mass is burned. I'm taking her down. We're getting some tea. His concern isn't for Yasha. Mass. Get to the mass before you drink your fucking tea.
Now, I have to defend him somewhat in that instance, because Jester took the position of carpenter. Her job is the welfare of the wood of the ship. You lose the mast, you lose the ship. Right. You lose the ship, you lose everybody.
Right.
So
but it was pointedly stated, not in character, but in character it was implied it wasn't that bad. But it was stated that it wasn't, the mass damage wasn't as bad as it was previously.
True. Oh no, I'm not. And so
I see where you're coming from, and I agree. And his other mention when he yells at Bo, or not yells, but kind of for falling asleep.
Yeah. Seriously.
And that's legit too, but he's just kind of very dismissive of, yeah, you guys don't matter. I don't care what you say if you don't agree with me.
Well,
his attitude the whole session.
Well, this comes down to what we've been talking about for a while, and the leadership dynamic in the group, and how Ford for the longest time has been trying to take a back seat, and he hasn't the last 2 episodes.
Yeah,
he's been taking a front step. Not only that, but he has taken the faith the other members of the 9 have placed in him as the knowledgeable person on the sea.
Yeah.
And them calling him captain, that he's beginning to treat them like a crew. Which means, for some, you bark orders and cuss.
Yeah.
And his crew have no idea, really. I mean, they've only been at sea barely a month.
Yeah.
Well, no, so like 6 weeks probably by this point.
Yeah.
Realistically, they have no idea. And Jester, yeah, she's the carpenter, but she's a cleric first.
Exactly.
So she's seeing to the health and welfare of the crew, not of the boat.
Yeah. And she's taking her down to get tea, which means to Caduceus, the other cleric, so yeah, she can come up and do the repair, Probably wasn't on her mind, but...
Yasha's ambulatory, she can go on her own. Fix the mast. Did he have to be like that? No. And we're also seeing from the very beginning, when Knott's like, I know he feels guilty. Maybe he's flirting with you. And Jester's like, no. She is totally given up.
Yeah.
On that. And later when they're talking about the name of the boat being prophetic and appropriate now.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, and our captain eats balls. She was not talking about
absorbing the spheres. No.
No.
No. Yeah. Yeah, the past few episodes we've kind of seen a rift with Ford and Jester.
Yeah. Which I think is only going to widen.
Yeah. And probably thrills the Caleb Jester shippers.
Yeah, probably. Although, yeah, I would almost...
I know they're out there.
Yeah. But I would almost put her with Caduceus before Caleb. But anyway.
I think there'd be too much cleric rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Especially from what we've seen from Jester and her jealousy. So, yeah. I buy that. So, one of the things that they talk about is their economic situation.
Yes.
And we mentioned this in the episode where they took the ship in piracy.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was Ford's responsibility to distribute the take.
Mm-hmm.
He never did.
And it all became the Plain Kings.
Mm-hmm. And I thought that was especially an excellent sort of under the surface backing to all of some of the shit that he was giving Bo, where Bo's actually trying to take being first mate kind of serious.
Yeah.
And he basically was derelict in everything. And when people give just a little bit of dereliction, he's on them.
Yeah.
I thought that made an interesting subtext. Now, whether or not the players have that in their head or not,
right,
I don't know. And probably most of the audience didn't either. Right. But for me, that was in my head.
Even his dismissiveness. I mean, Jester is the only one who responded to it as that. Out of all the people he was dismissive to,
Yeah.
Fine, why don't you stop being a fucking dick?
Yeah. We also learned that hugs are a currency for advice. When Caduceus asked the blacksmith, what can you do with this? So we have them investigating the vestige.
Yeah.
We
Well,
think
we
it's a vestige.
believe it's a vestige.
Yeah. So, and we learn that it's mastercraft and
I don't know that it's a like currency in the sense that it's a standard currency. I think it was a currency in that one instance.
Fair enough. Oh, before we get to Yasha's stuff, the books.
Yes, Caleb stays back. He identifies. We were wrong on the beads. They are the food pellets from Xanathars. We thought they were
beads of force.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ink we were right on. You were right on.
Yeah.
And then we have the books, which, when Caleb decides to let the other people know, there are some people who will be interested in them.
Yeah, and to my mind, gives a lot of evidence to what we've been talking about since the beginning. So,
yeah,
the corrupted land, and that the point of the campaign is to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the books is talking about alchemical experimentation on corrupted plants.
Yep.
We have
a debate.
Yep, over the experimentation and torture of prisoners of Godranus.
And of the war with the gods.
And the coming war with the gods.
Which places this at the Calamity.
Yep. And also name drop a city, a flying city.
Mm-hmm.
The other book was about the subcontinent, small continent, large island, frozen island to the north.
Yes.
And the beasts that inhabit it.
Mm-hmm.
And when Matt is telling Liam and everyone at the table what Liam knows about this flying city, he slips.
Yeah.
At first he says, nearly all, no, sorry, as far as anyone knows, all have been destroyed.
He says, in the cataclysm.
Yes. Speculation for this episode, which we may or may not get to, but even Travis was like, that's a Mercer mystery. That flying city's up there.
Okay. The one thing I thought of when he made that comment was, what about Draconia?
Draconia has floating islands.
Okay.
Not that its cities are flying.
Okay. Well, they've all crashed, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we have the name of a city where Greece takes place.
Yes.
Sidell High.
Yeah. So, I think like those three books were, and this is a classic DM tip and trick, is you give the players what they need to get them where you need them to go. And in that one hall, Matt gave them everything they needed to get them to go where he needs them to go.
Yeah.
And Taliesin, and I don't know if this will be asked ever, and of all of the things that we talk about, it is the one question I might ask for a talks, but he says it's gonna rain.
Yeah.
And then it rains. And he's talking to Yasha later.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he's celebrating her gift from the Stormlord.
Yeah.
And he says, I think what drew you down here, we're going towards. I think we're barreling towards it.
Yeah.
Now, is Taliesin, and I think Taliesin saw the device that Matt had and knew what it was for, and or Matt also told him about this cool thing.
Okay.
So he saw it, it was hooked up. He knows it's a lightning thing. He knows it's going to rain. So he works that in talking. And I think based upon, like we have said, Caduceus and Yasha's stories are a parallel.
And closely parallel.
Yeah. And I think Taliesin has seen that.
Yeah.
And maybe he has some confirmation from Matt or not. Because sometimes you'll give things to a player because their character might know it.
Right.
Or might be able to intuit it.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he has access to divination, the spell, and he's cast it already.
Yeah.
I could see Matt giving little hints to Taliesin.
Yeah.
I don't think in any spoiler. I don't think Matt would do that.
No.
But just in a way that if Taliesin's paying attention, he can lay those crumbs out for the other players.
Right.
Similar to the way that he worked with Deborah with the orb.
Yeah.
It's those kinds of things. So I think...
Which, since our last show, we also learned through talks that Matt had intended Deborah to take the ball with her when she left, but she left it with the mighty 9.
Yes, which is why Matt gave the addendum at the very beginning. By the way, that sphere is completely different. You guys aren't getting back there anytime soon. But on the other hand, this does give them a way to do a bottle episode.
Yeah.
If they don't have everybody.
Yeah.
Like if they're going to be missing
A
3
few
players.
of them can jump into the orb, explore it, come out. Oh, it's completely different again.
Yeah. But also maybe get more lore, get loot.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever.
Well, there's 100, it's 100+ room dungeon in there. And they
Yeah.
went to 3?
Yeah.
If you count the hallway between? Well,
Yeah.
you got the entry room, the library, and the dragon room.
Yeah.
And the 2 hallways between the 3.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So,
They have 97 more to go.
97 plus.
Yeah.
Because he said 100+ rooms.
So yeah, and like I said, I think that's a version of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage for Matt. It's just a location that, in theory, they could go back to whenever they want and just randomly roll it. So, last half of the show, we need to get to Yasha because we have some also stuff at the end with the Gravid Archipelago, which I kept saying atoll because I didn't write it down when I discovered what it was called. And for some reason, my brain just switched the words. But Yasha's solo fight.
Yasha has a solo fight.
Yes. We have stated many times that Travis is our avatar at the table. This episode, especially during that Yasha's portion, the top screen was really our avatar.
Yeah.
All 3 of them.
I mean, Travis started out as both of our avatars.
Yeah.
As the game has progressed, I think I've leaned more towards Marisha as my avatar.
Okay.
I
alternate between Travis and Liam, I think. But yeah, that whole...
See, Liam's reactions tend to be in character for the most part. I mean, he's...
Well, if he's in the scene, yes.
That
he's in character,
but yeah.
Yeah. I loved the opening of that. Matt's special effects aside.
Yeah. Good job, Max.
When Matt sets it up as you're experiencing a memory of your loved one.
Yes.
And then she's stripped of flesh and is bone. She's dead. And then another flash. We have a speaking of from the Stormlord, talking about loss. And then the next flash that we see is her angelic guide. The demon, or the devil.
Yeah.
Red skin, horns, leathery wings. Your anger is beautiful to behold, orphan maker. And
we also learned her name.
Yeah. And everyone at the top table was like, and then this storm was birthed only for you. And Liam's like, yeah. And she has to fight. She's flustered. Yeah. I also, before I forget, because I wanted to mention it, and it's quick. Ashley's t-shirt. I love it, and I wanted to say it. The t-shirt, if you didn't notice it, it was blue and said GNDN on it, which is an acronym from Star Trek, the original series. Whenever they were doing work on the ship and they had the panel open, the pipes and the thing, we have GNDN and a number. And the GNDN means goes nowhere, does nothing. And it was the set designer's joke. And with her Twitter handle, the Vulcan salute.
Yeah.
So I had to call it out.
It was good.
Yeah. But anyway, to the scene. Matt does what he did with Grog, with his barbarian solo arcs, which is they revolve around combat.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk your way out of this. You're not going to reason your way out of this. The solution to your problems is fighting.
Yeah.
And she doesn't attack it first.
Right.
It attacks her. Now, I rewatched this episode 3.5 times.
Okay.
Basically. And it didn't occur to me until today, on my rewatch today before this show. I think Yasha was supposed to die in that fight. I think Matt was trying to kill Yasha.
Okay. Why?
Because the lesson was about loss.
Okay.
If she dies, she experiences a loss, and so do the people around her. But Yasha is a zealot barbarian and can be brought back for nothing.
True.
And I think Yasha, Ashley, and all of the players and their characters should know that. And I think this was going to be Matt's way of delivering that narratively.
Okay.
Because Yasha, when she's telling them the story of her coming to the Stormlord, the murder of her wife and escaping and all that stuff, that she's missing time. And Matt again connects that field of bodies with the murder of her loved one. Now he's done it directly.
Yes.
And we talked very early on, the first time we had that narrated for us, that's why she's a fallen Asimar.
Yeah.
That was the act that made her fall.
Now, okay, and here's my question, because we also talked about, was she something else, like human, and then became an Asimar because of being touched by the Stormlord? She was transformed, she looked different. That could have been either. That could have been she was human, she's now an Asimar. It could have been she was a protector or a scourge and is now a fallen.
Yeah, I tend to believe that she was an Asimar already.
Okay. So you've flipped from the beginning to the beginning.
Yeah, I think...
Because you were the one that initially brought that up.
Yeah. And just because narratively it was interesting to think of this zealot barbarian being birthed whole and an adult as an Asimar. But I think my thinking's changed. I think she was born an Asimar, and that act she fell.
Okay.
And she may have was going to be left for dead, but whoever raised her, I think she died in that confrontation. I think she killed a lot of people, and it took the last few warriors of her tribe to bring her down.
Okay.
And I think a priest of the Storm Lord brought her back.
It could be.
And the only way we're going to find that out is if the ritual gets performed to bring her back, and that announces the DC before.
Yeah.
Bullet.
Or through exposition.
Yeah.
When they finally go to
go home. We find out why she's been collecting all the flowers.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder, was Zuella from there? Or was she a foreigner that Yasha met? Because they stated earlier in the episode that there are no flowers where she's from.
I had not considered that.
And maybe Zuella missed the flowers, and so she was going to bring her flowers.
I tend to think no.
Okay.
I think it is probably that when Yasha left, and she saw flowers for the first time,
she thought Zuella would like them.
Yeah, or there was a smell, and it triggered a sense memory.
Gotcha.
Because flowers can smell like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one that smells like rotting flesh.
Yeah.
So I think maybe she found a flower that reminded her of the smell of Zuella.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's soft. So
my thought was that Zuella was an outsider from somewhere there were flowers and would tell her about them.
Yeah, I mean, it would also explain also why Zuella is willing to break the taboo as well.
Yeah. Well, it would make it that much easier for them to break the taboo.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can see that. But it was an interesting mechanic. And the other reason why I say that I think Matt wanted that fight to kill Yasha is when Jester came in, it grew, got extra hit points, and never even bothered attacking Jester, moving in any way towards Jester. It only ever focused on Yasha.
Yeah.
So I think the mechanic that Matt had in place for that fight was anyone who came in, monster got X number of hit points and grew. And if another person came in, it probably got bonus to its stats or would get advantage on attack rolls.
Well, it seemed like it did more damage.
Yeah.
Considerably more damage in that next attack.
Yeah. So...
which, although if Jester hadn't gone in, she would have gone down.
Yeah.
Because while that attack was bigger...
it wasn't more than what she had healed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I still think that it was designed to kill her.
Okay.
But yeah. I loved the reaction of Marisha and Travis when she was talking about what the flowers are for.
Yeah.
So she can go put them up. She doesn't know where she's buried, but when she goes back, she wants to have them.
She wants to find.
And Travis is, oh. And Marisha's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like I could almost hear Marisha saying, "I have been such an asshole."
Yeah. Well, and that was my thought, just this, because, I mean, the way she said it, she was like, she'll always be with me. She's always mine. Kind of put the squash on the whole Bo Yasha thing. I mean, it's still a possibility, but...
Yeah, still a possibility. Which also, I think, was the point of that speech about loss.
Yeah.
To growth and to move beyond. The Gravid Archipelago. They thought Matt described undead things hanging in seaweed. And I thought his description was great based on the perception test, the result of the perception test. And I think he felt bad because the players were running in this direction that maybe he didn't intend. And so he tried to walk it back and explain that, well, no, you didn't see it clearly enough to know for sure. But they had already made up their minds, and they basically brushed past what he had just said and didn't get it until they were down there. And these things unwrapped themselves from the seaweed.
Yeah.
And in the lead up to that scene, when he's like, they're vaguely humanoid, and they're on the seaweed, I was like, Kuotoa. We're getting it. Oh, yeah. But no, not Kuotoa.
No.
They wiped them out fairly easily. Although, Matt, and this is one of the problems with Theater of the Mind when you're running it, Caduceus said he wanted to get within 60 feet so that he could use Eyes of the Grave on them. And when the fight started, suddenly Caduceus wasn't within 60 feet of them. Somebody was back here with them, 110 feet away.
Well, yeah.
So it's one of those problems with Theater of the Mind that you have to sort of work with them. And it's hard for everyone to remember where everyone else is.
Yeah.
And no one else was really, well, I'm within 10 feet of them, within 20 feet of them. You know, they were basically just in an amorphous group moving down together.
Yeah.
Not that it would have necessarily changed anything. And also, Caduceus technically, at one point, should have been out of range to use Sacred Flame.
Yeah.
But got to use it anyway. But didn't check the range. Like, they didn't do that whole underwater thing beyond the first range.
Yeah.
Until later. But Matt had already, these things they're probably 1/4 challenge rating monsters. With, 7 to probably 15 hit points each. Yeah, the first 2 strikes dead.
Yeah.
Caleb wasted a first level spell slot, killing one.
When a cantrip would have worked.
Yeah. Now, in his defense, he had tried the firebolt and missed, and Matt described it as fizzling out in the water. And so they were like, oh, I guess that's not going to work then.
Yeah.
So, but the beast at the base, Chol.
Yep.
I'm 99% certain they're Chol.
Yep. I had the same conclusion.
They are usually serving aboleth.
I also had the same conclusion.
And I said many weeks ago that I expected an aboleth to be in at least one of these temples.
Yep.
I hope I'm right.
I believe that you are,
Now, if I am right, then what we're going to see this week, I hope, a quick battle with the Chol. And then the aboleth will begin messing with them.
Yeah.
I have never been able to use an aboleth in this way. But the long drawn out messing with people that they can do. Matt, I think, can probably do it. And I think as soon as they're through with those Chol, it's going to start. They're going to get down, and they're going to start hearing things, seeing things, and we might see a piece of what Not is asking Caleb about. Hey, I think he's going bad. If he goes bad, do you have something up your sleeve that you can kill him?
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb's like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I'm also predicting PvP.
Yep. I'm just saying, Matt has had 3 weeks to build an underwater button factory.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting the Wonka
Button
factory.
Wonka with the Boompa Loompas.
Yeah, that was a good bit there. Yeah. But we had a lot of instances this episode of the buildup of a confrontation with Ford.
Yeah.
And essentially the final dissolution of a lot of the sort of alliances that we had drawn around Ford and Caleb,
Mm-hmm.
and that leadership dynamic that we had been seeing play out. So I think at this point, Ford is essentially alone.
Yeah.
And Not and Caleb had the discussion before going underwater. And Caduceus, when Ford used his Spectre ability, was like, no.
Yeah. And he's already put out Jester. Bo, because of the first main thing, is the only one that might side with him.
Except I don't think she will, because the argument, this is going to release an evil if he does this.
Yeah.
Or it puts us one step closer.
Yeah.
Now, I'm convinced that when they were discussing what are you going to do when you get there, Ford, and they're talking about, well, maybe there's more than just 3 spheres.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be 3 locks, but that doesn't mean there's just 3 spheres.
Yeah. Every manager might have had a key.
And of those beasts, Uk'otoa is the only one with lots of eyes. And when they're talking about, when he's like, I got 2 of these, I can just use one and keep one. And they're like, well, what if this releases it?
Yeah.
And Matt was doing his best.
Yeah.
To keep a poker face.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, what if 2 makes it weak enough that he can bust out?
Or there are more spheres. And this is the last one.
Yeah. Or what if there's just 3 spheres, but there's only actually 2 locks?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ford's right. There was 3 spheres below Uk'otoa, and then the 3 people. But it didn't say there was 3.
Yeah, we have no. Yeah, there is no.
We
basis.
assumed, everyone, including the players, assumed there was 3 temples because there was 3 spheres.
Yeah. And yeah, we've been given no other indication of that 3rd location.
Right.
Because Avantika said there's this temple, and I know of at least one other in the islands.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking. Oh, I'm fearful that they're gonna get there, and it's gonna be like, oh,
doom,
and now Uk'otoa is out.
Yeah.
I think Matt will give them a clue if that's going to be the case. I think Matt will give them a idea that, hey.
I think if that's the case, the clue will probably come in the form of Sabian trying to stop them.
No, I think it'll be in the architecture.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be in the architecture because the last clue was in the architecture. So, yeah, I think this will be. Now, the only question is, it'll be the Aboleth.
Okay.
If it isn't Aboleth, it will be the Aboleth, and the Aboleth will not want Uk'otoa free. Because the Aboleth are from before the creation of the world.
Right.
So Uk'otoa would be as much an invader as these other things. And I'm the boss here.
Yeah.
So the Aboleth will have race memory all the way back, forever, and will know what other temples there are. So we may get in conversation with the Aboleth that this is the only this or however many locations there are will be spoken. So yeah, I think those are the two options.
Okay.
But is there anything else that we missed that we haven't talked about?
Just kind of glancing over our notes here.
Other than the funny thing about when Bo's at the helm,
and
where
we
are we going?
Touched on that, but
our destiny.
Where are we going? That way, forward, which would be to where? The only place we could be headed, our destiny.
Yeah. But yeah, so this creates an interesting, going back to Caduceus and the Spectre, this creates an interesting dynamic that we're going to see play out. You have one player whose character feels one way about a thing, the undead, say.
Mm-hmm.
And you have another player whose class abilities, one of their key abilities, is utilizing the undead. A hexblade, say, or a necromancer wizard.
Right.
We're going to see Matt adjudicate the argument between these characters that their players are going to have. Because essentially what one player is going to be asking is that the other player not use 1/20th of their class abilities.
Yeah.
And for a hexblade, that Spectre is kind of a big deal. So that will be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah.
Now there's no animosity between Taliesin and Travis over this. And I don't even know if Taliesin will take it that far to ask Ford not to use that at all.
I don't know if he'll take it that far. I think he'll discourage it, but not flat out ask him.
Okay.
But he did say, we will be having a talk about this.
Yeah. And it might just be that Caduceus comes down. Yeah. But yeah, I think Caduceus is going to be... It may end up coming down to basically, okay, if you feel that you're going to do this and I can't dissuade you from it, then I'm going to use my abilities and I'm going to make it go away.
Yeah. But then you've got one person using one of their main abilities to disrupt the other players using one of their main abilities, and that's a waste of player resources.
And boy, did they love doing it in Campaign 1.
This is true.
Because...
Fair point.
Scanlan and Tiberius in Campaign 1, I cast Silence. Counterspell. Oh, boom, boom. They're wasting 3rd level spells in the middle of an Illithid temple.
Yeah.
So, there's precedent. And from a GM perspective, it's great when you don't have to do anything to expend the player's resources.
This is also true.
Oh, you want to be on cantrips? You can be on cantrips. So yeah, I think hopefully we'll see the Aboleth have the Chol fight, some PvP, likely. And Ashley's not going to be there, we don't think. So, unless she can start Skyping in more.
Yeah, unless she's Skyping in, she won't be there, because when they were talking about the whole cast being on Talks tonight, Brian said, except for Ashley, because I know when she's leaving.
Yeah.
Indicating that she was leaving before Talks tonight.
Yeah, so hopefully there's no exterior knights in blind spot scripts. But we'll see you guys next week. We're going to go enjoy Talks.
See ya.